And now, please help me welcome the Reverend Dr. Sushmita Mukherjee.
Te home, el te home kore, te home, el te home kore, from the deep I call to you, join me, from the deep I call to you, from the deep I call to you, Tehom, El Tehom Kore, Tehom, El Tehom Kore, from the deep. I call to you from the deep. I call to you from the deep. I call to you. That's from the Hebrew Bible. She, he, the Hebrew God, calling us not from the heights, but from the depths. And the melody is by Taya Sherif. Before I start, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that we are standing on the ancestral grounds of the Shinnecock and the Nantucket people. These are the ancestors and the caretakers of this land, and their land has been taken, their language, their culture has been taken without permission. And I ask for forgiveness from the ancestors of this land and from the spirit of this land, all that has been done in the name of civilization. So hello, everybody. Hello, Dottie. Thank you. Thank you for your beautiful, beautiful prayer. Thank you for the flowers. And I want to maybe start with this. You know, I had written out a talk. It was very erudite, very making all these points and so forth. And it was feeling very jagged to me. It didn't quite sit. And then 2 or 3 nights ago, I woke up in the middle of the night. I couldn't fall back asleep. And I was kind of in this half awake, half asleep state. And I heard this voice. It was literally a voice that said, forget about all that, speak to Dottie. So I'm going to speak to Dottie today. All right, so the title that I chose for today's presentation is When Light is Born from the Womb of Darkness. I want us to focus on those words, the womb and the darkness. Because we've grown up, we've all been acculturated in religions as well as secular structures that emphasize light and denigrate darkness. Light is good, God is light, and darkness, the body, the matter, the mother who births. In fact, the word, the Latin word from where the word matter comes is mater, which means mother. So we have denigrated the feminine by denigrating darkness. And of course, we see colonialism, we see slavery. All of this, in some ways, is a result of this dichotomy, this binarization of light and dark. And today, part of my intention is to rehabilitate this dark womb space, the space where there is fecundity, there is possibility, there is life. And I want to start with reading Rilke, one of my favorite poets, Rainer Maria Rilke, German poet. And this translation is by Joanna Macy and Anita Barrows. It's from his Book of Hours. This is what the poet says. You, darkness, of whom I'm born, I love you more than the flame that limits the world to the circle it illumines and excludes all the rest. The poet is talking about this firelight creating a perimeter, and everything within that perimeter is illuminated and everything outside of it is dark. Everything outside of it is otherized. It's the other, it's not me. But in darkness, there is no perimeter. Everything is included. It's this place of potentiality where everything is possible. You, darkness, of whom I'm born, I love you more than the flame that limits the world to the circle it illumines and excludes all the rest. But the darkness embraces everything, shapes and shadows, creatures and me, people, nations, just as they are. It lets me imagine a great presence stirring beside me. I believe in the night. That's Rilke. Let us imagine for a moment this womb time, this womb space, this place that is dark, that's moist, warm, a place where there is absolute rest and the great silence. Or we imagine that seed that is underground waiting for spring and feeling that restful quietude. And feeling in us that longing, that yearning for this quiet time, this inward time, this time where I don't have to do a million things. And as we wait for the divine child of light to be born out of this womb of darkness, we take a moment to acknowledge the mother, the womb, the place where this divine child is gestated. It is a place of hope, of expectation, of leaving the candle burning, but it is also the time of deep, deep, deep rest. And I want to acknowledge that time. And really, we are at that time right now. I mean, today's the first day of Hanukkah. We're in the middle of Advent. Winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere is around the corner. It is the time when the whole world, the living earth, is in conversation between light and darkness. And so are we. The problem, as I said earlier, is that we humans have created these structures, these religious structures, which have later been secularized. That has really created this Apollonian model of the mind, the light, the heights, the ascension. I would say most of our religions are ascensionist religions. They want to start from the ground, build up, and let go of the darker, heavier pieces. What instead if we went with the indigenous people who speak about the structure of the world as circular, where things come and go, things are born and they die. And thinking of this, I sometimes think of this place as like this dark temple with two doors. And one door is the tomb, where we enter as we leave the space. And then the other door is the womb, from where we come out into the light. So we're constantly cycling, both in our physical bodies as well as the little deaths that we have. and the little birds that we have all the time. All those little hopes and aspirations and dreams that are no longer going to come true. Can we really let them rest so that they can be metamorphosed, they can be alchemized into a whole new, surprising thing, because this is a place of potentiality. We don't know what's going to be born out of it. That's the really cool thing about Jesus in the tomb, is when Jesus entered the tomb, he didn't know that he was going to come out, because then the whole mystery is lost. So it's that place of mystery. It's that place of everything is possible place. And I think sometimes we're afraid of this place, partly because darkness in our minds conjures up death. That's the biggest darkness. And death in many cultures, and for many of us who have kind of moved away from the old mythos, is oblivion. It's ending. It's I no longer exist. So I want to share with you a little, just a very brief shlok from the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is talking. Krishna is the God incarnate, talking to his disciple Arjuna and talking about this moment of death. And this is how it goes in Sanskrit, and then I'll translate it. In Sanskrit, it goes like this. Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihanati naroparan tatha sharirani vihaya jirnanyanyani sanyati navani dehi. What that means is, just like we humans, when our clothes are worn and tattered, we throw them away and we wear new clothes. Similarly, the soul, when the body is old and tattered, throws it away to wear a new body. So it's just that cyclical process. And it is up to us whether we want to believe in reincarnation, not want to believe in reincarnation, but that's not even the point. The point is, I think, for me at least, is can I rest peacefully in that unknowing? Because we cannot know. But can I rest in the unknowing? That's, I think, the invitation. And it's beautiful. I have 2 lines from Mary Oliver, another of my favorite poets. Just 2 lines. It's so beautiful. She says, someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. And I mean, nowadays we are learning this in science, right? So we know now that all that we see, all the matter, all the energy that is visible, that is quantifiable, that is measurable, is 5% of what's in the universe. Rest of it is dark matter and dark energy. 95%. We do not even have the tools to measure them, because all our tools have come out of our light-centric thinking. So it's only now, because the equations don't make sense otherwise. The other thing that I sometimes think about, I'm a scientist, I do imaging, microscopy, that's my work. And I often think about how to get a good image, you need light to come into an absolute dark place. Think of an old-fashioned camera. If you had a light leak, the photo will be washed out. So it's that place where light can be operationalized. It can make sense to us. And sometimes I think of the visual cortex. Okay, so light's coming in through my eyes, but where it is making sense is at the back of my head, inside the skull, where there is absolute darkness. That's the visual cortex right there. So it's interesting that this, and it's not to say light is bad, dark is good, let's flip the story, but it is to say, let's really learn how to dance with both. That's the invitation. And here's a little piece from John O'Donohue, another of my favorite guy. It's from his book, Longing and Belonging. And this is a prose. He says Celtic spirituality in its finest moments has a wonderful hospitality for the threshold where contradictions actually meet. It really is the hidden world that produces all color. William Blake said, colors are the wounds of light. In a way, too, color is the fruit of darkness. Because without the fecundity of the inner dark, there will be no external color. And that is true, because an object that reflects all light is white, an object that absorbs all light is black, and an object that absorbs some of the light and reflects some of the light is color. And imagine a world without color. It's possible because light and darkness have this dance happening. Mother and child, the lovers, however you want to conjure that. And I know I have very little time left, so I'm going to leave you with one last poem. It's one of my favorites. It's also from John O'Donoghue. And this is called For Light. And here he plays with the different kinds of light. So I'm going to read this to you. It's from his book, To Bless the Space Between Us. Light cannot see inside things. That is what the dark is for. Minding the interior. Nurturing the draw of growth through places where death in its own way turns into life. In the glare of neon times, let our eyes not be worn by surfaces that shine with hunger made attractive. That our thoughts may be true light, finding their way into words which have the weight of shadow to hold the layers of truth. Our words that have the weight of shadow to hold the layers of truth. That we never place our trust in minds claimed by empty light, where one-sided certainties are driven by false desire. When we look into the heart, may our eyes have the kindness and reverence of candlelight. That the searching of our minds be equal to the oblique crevices and corners where mystery continues to dwell, glimmering in fugitive light. When we are confined inside the dark house of suffering, that moonlight might find a window. When we become false and lost, that severe noonlight would cast our shadow clear. When we love, that dawn light would lighten our feet upon the waters. As we grow old, that twilight would illuminate treasure in the fields of memory. And when we come to search for God, let us first be robed in night. Put on the mind of morning, to feel the rush of light spread slowly inside, the color and stillness of a found world. Thank you.